This tutorial will explain the new developmental screening process at the Early Learning Coalition of Seminole. We will review why screenings are important, who is required to have an ASQ3, the new procedure for ASQ submission, and explore the provider and parent portals. So why are screenings important? As early care education professionals, you play an important role. Studies have shown that the earlier a delay is recognized and intervention is begun, the better a child's chance of substantial improvements. School readiness program contracted providers are required to complete developmental screenings in accordance with the SR contract on children participating in the school readiness program. Failure to complete this contracted deliverable in a timely manner could have an impact on the center's eligibility to participate in the school readiness program. All children receiving school readiness funding between the ages of 6 weeks to kindergarten eligibility must have an initial ASQ3 completed within 45 days of their first day of enrollment, or a redetermination of enrollment in the school readiness program. If there is a break in service, children must receive an ASQ3 screening within 45 days of their subsequent enrollment in the school readiness program, and a yearly ASQ3 completed within their birth month. Remember, parents always have the option to decline screenings. If a parent has declined the screenings, you will receive a notification in your Seminole ShareFile ASQ folder. The ASQ SE2 is a social emotional screening that the Office of Early Learning has selected to go along with the ASQ3. The ASQ SE2 is used to measure the social emotional growth of a child. The social emotional development is important because it has been proven to be directly linked with the developmental growth of a child. When will a child need a developmental screening? At new enrollment. This may be frequent for at-risk children, as referrals for school readiness may be 3, 6, 9, or 12 months in length. When the parent, provider, or coalition deems necessary for an updated developmental screening related to concerns, this will always be deferred to the provider and at redetermination of school readiness services. In the past, Family Services would accept the school readiness enrollment for children on behalf of the provider, and providers could still be reimbursed if families have not signed their payment certificate. And the ASQ screenings were completed by the provider through the ELC of Seminole website. Now the providers will be responsible for accepting the enrollment for children in the OEL provider portal. Providers will not be reimbursed for families until the family has signed each child's payment certificate. The exception would be at-risk referrals. After the parent signs their child's payment certificate, the parents will be prompted to complete the ASQ screenings in the OEL portal. While in the portal and before signing the school readiness payment certificate, parents will be given the option to consent for developmental screenings, both the ASQ3 and ASQ SE. After signing the payment certificate, parents will be offered the choice to decline, complete, or defer the developmental screenings of their child or children. The exception to signing the payment certificate pertains to at-risk children. The parent or guardian will still be asked to give consent and complete the developmental screenings. Once the parent or guardian signs the payment certificate, the portal will take the parent or guardian to the ASQ online to complete the developmental screenings. Upon completion, they may log on to their account to review the screening results. If developmental screenings are not completed by the parent or guardian within 5 days, the screenings will automatically be transferred to the provider for completion. This is a view of what the family portal looks like. As you can see, the first payment certificate has been signed and the child's enrollment status shows the child has been enrolled. The second payment certificate has a blue button indicating the parent still needs to sign the payment certificate. You'll notice under enrollment status, this child has yet to be enrolled. After selecting Sign for the payment certificate, the parent or guardian will be prompted to give consent for the developmental screening and child assessment. If no consent has been given, the parent or provider will not be prompted to conduct the developmental screenings. After the parent or guardian gives consent for the developmental screenings, they will sign the payment certificate and accept or decline the enrollment. If the parent or guardian declines the enrollment, the Early Learning Coalition will need to issue a new enrollment. If the parent or guardian accepts the enrollment, they will then be prompted to select a language in which to complete the developmental screenings. Once the parent or guardian selects their preferred language, a pop-up box will inform the parent or guardian of what to expect when conducting a developmental screening. They will then have 5 days to complete the developmental screening before it's deferred to the provider. After signing the payment certificate, parents have the option to defer. Instead of selecting Start Screening, parents that wish to defer will select, I would like someone else to screen my child. A pop-up box will appear, and the parents will be encouraged a second time to complete the developmental screenings. Parents or guardians have 5 days to complete the developmental screening. After the 5th day, the screening will automatically transfer to the provider for completion. If within the 5 days the parent selects, I would like someone else to screen my child, the developmental screening will automatically be deferred to the provider. The provider will then complete and submit the screenings in the OEL portal within 45 days of enrollment. Once the screenings are completed, parents will be able to review the screening results within their account. Coalition staff will follow up with a parent or guardian if the screening has concerns or falls in the monitor range. At this time, providers will not be notified if a parent has deferred a screening. There are 2 ways in your portal to locate incomplete screenings. The first way is under Enrollments. You would click on Manage SR Enrollments, Preschool Development, Developmental Screening, and select Incomplete, as shown in the image to the left of your screen. The second and easier way to know if you need to complete a developmental screening is on your landing page. Under Preschool Development, click on Developmental Screening Queue, and this will take you to your incomplete screenings, as shown in the image to the right of your screen. This is a view of what your incomplete queue will look like. The incomplete queue is where you will find your developmental screenings that have been deferred or assigned by the Early Learning Coalition. It is recommended that you check your incomplete queue at least weekly, as you will not be notified if a child is in your incomplete queue. There have been 3 new columns added to your incomplete queue. The first new column is the Enrollment Actual Start Date. The Enrollment Actual Start Date will show a date once the first day of attendance has been approved by the coalition. The second new column is the due date. The due date will be 45 days from the request date or the enrollment actual start date, whichever is the most current date. The third new column is the days until due. The days until due will indicate how many days are left until the screening results must be entered and submitted to the coalition. The last column's name has changed from vendor link to due screening. You will notice under the due screening column, they've added 2 buttons, English and Spanish. To begin the developmental screenings process under the due screening column, select the language in which you wish to complete the questionnaire. You will then be redirected to the ASQ online website to complete the questionnaire in the language you've selected. By clicking on the Export button, an Excel spreadsheet will download. The data listed on the spreadsheet will match the data returned on the Developmental Screening Work Queue page. Once the Start Screening has been selected, the parent or provider will be redirected to the ASQ online website to complete the screening. The child's birthday should be pre-populated. If the child was premature, adjust the child's age only if he or she is 3 or more weeks premature. Age should only be adjusted for children under age 2. Once a child is 2 or older, prematurity no longer needs to be considered and the actual age should be used. Parents or providers will then click Submit. After selecting Submit, the website will identify the necessary age needed for the ASQ3 and ASQ SE. The person completing the developmental screening may click on the link to print the ASQ3 or ASQ SE needed to complete the developmental screening. Once the screening is completed, return to your portal, click on the Enter Your Results link to enter scores. Under Your Relationship to Child, be sure to enter the name of the child care provider. Once the person starts to enter the results, they must continue through the ASQ3 and the ASQ SE. After entering all results for the ASQ3, a pop-up will confirm that the person entering the results would like to submit. However, we are not done. After completing the ASQ3, the person completing the developmental screening will be given 2 options. The first option is to click here to print additional information. This will take you to another pop-up in a different window with developmental activities for you to print to support the child. The second option is to click here to complete your ASQ SE. If the person completing the screening does not continue on to complete the ASQ SE, the child will remain in the incomplete queue. This is one example of what the developmental activities will look like for you to print to support the child. The person entering the results should proceed to complete the ASQ SE. Developmental activities are also given for the ASQ SE. You will know you're finished when you receive the message above. Click here to print additional information. You may then exit the window. This is one example of what the social emotional activities will look like for you to print to support the child. After completing the screenings, if there are no areas of concern or monitoring, the results of the ASQ3 and ASQ SE will show in the family and provider portals. If the developmental screenings show areas of concern, the ASQ3 and ASQ SE will then go to the Early Learning Coalition for review, as shown on the screen. The Early Learning Coalition will determine next steps and make the results available for both the provider and the parent to see in the OEL portal. This is an example of what the results in the family portal will look like. Once the results are viewable, the family can select Screening History to view the results on the developmental screenings. This is an example of how to search results in your provider portal. Click on Manage SR Enrollments, Preschool Development, Developmental Screening, and then search for an individual child. Children with approved developmental screenings will show their status approved. In order to view the results, simply click on the screening ID. Once you've clicked on the screening ID, you'll now be able to view the screening results for both the ASQ3 and ASQ-SE, along with the overall responses listed on the ASQ3. If there is anything else that you may want us to know about this child, providers can communicate with the Early Learning Coalition through screening notes. Screening notes allow for communication with the Early Learning Coalition. Screening notes are not viewable by the families in their portal. Screening notes should be used when seeking additional supports, documentation, assistance with families, etc. Screening notes should also be used when the child's anticipated start date is after the actual enrollment date. You will continue to receive summary result letters for all children who are screened. The summary result letters will still be uploaded into your Seminole Shapefile ASQ folder. The developmental activities can be found in your ASQ activities folder within your ASQ folder. All developmental activities are available in both English and Spanish. Developmental activities must correspond to the interval listed on the summary result letter. Providers are still responsible to have the parent or guardian of the child sign and date that they have received both the child's result letter and the developmental activities. Some summary result letter tips are, if you've received a summary result letter for a child who no longer attends, please send us documentation of the child's last date of attendance and enrollment termination date of the child in the provider portal on the summary result letter, and upload it into your Seminole Shapefile ASQ folder for our records. If the child never attended your center, write "Child never attended" on the summary result letter and upload it into your Seminole Shapefile ASQ folder for our records. Keep the original copy of the signed summary result letter in your child's folder at your center for your records. According to Rule 6M-4.720, each Early Learning Coalition shall coordinate with parents or providers to complete screenings for each child between the ages of 6 weeks to kindergarten eligibility age. Require a child care provider to provide in writing the screening results for each child to the child's parent. Failure to submit required screenings and summary result letters may result in a non-compliance and/or termination of your school readiness contract. Remember, results are most accurate when the family is involved in the process. We strongly suggest getting to know the child before conducting the screening. The 45-day time frame to complete the screening begins at the child's school readiness program enrollment date. If the child's start date in your program is different from the enrollment date on the payment certificate, complete the screening and issue a screening note in the OEL portal detailing the first day of the child's enrollment. This date will be confirmed with the Early Learning Coalition through your submitted attendance and sign-in and sign-out sheets. You will not be notified of past due ASQ screenings from the OEL provider portal. You should regularly check the incomplete queue for developmental screenings. We suggest you check it at least weekly. If enrolling a new child, it is best practice to check to see if they will need an ASQ. You do not need to upload the paper ASQ screenings, as we cannot accept them. You may keep this paper copy in the child's folder. Providers are still responsible to have the parent or guardian of the child sign and date that they have received the child's results letter and the developmental activities. The Office of Early Learning has created tutorial videos to assist with this new screening process transition. These videos are for coalition, family, and providers. Currently, the videos are only available in English, but we will send a notification once other languages become available. The videos can be found at the link listed on the screen. If you are requiring further assistance, you may join us on Zoom during our Ask the Specialist for topic questions or during a Learn It Live training session. You'll receive information on how to sign up or join one of these sessions in your constant contacts. Thank you for viewing the new Developmental Screening Process tutorial. For more assistance, you may contact one of the specialists listed on your screen.